The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect those of the ANA or its members.
Do you think about, too, the modernization, the expectation? I think that's the piece that, as you think about the evolution of marketing more holistically, you start bringing in leaders that are focused on experiences and digital in with marketing. And it is like it's changing and evolving how we go to market, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
But can we use that where we're still rolling?
Yeah.
I feel like there was a lot of wisdom.
Cold open.
Boom.
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 On today's episode of On Scope, more of that with Truist's Sherry Graziano. Also, this week in A&A Magazine, we're talking new media consumption habits and unhinged marketing. All that next on Scope. Hey, hi, hello. This is On Scope, the marketing podcast, brought to you by the ANA and powered by Odyssey, a leading audio streaming app. You can get your favorite podcasts, music, and entertainment on the Odyssey app. I am your host, Mike Berberich, and with me, as always, producer of On Scope, Ryan Dinger.
How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing pretty great, Ryan. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic.
Wonderful. Love to hear it.
Yes, me too.
You know what? We're going to hit the ground running today with This Week in A&A Magazine.
I love it. Don't keep them waiting.
Here to discuss what's new in A&A Magazine is my friend and yours, Matthew Schwartz, Director of Content and Editorial Development here at the ANA, who also happens to be an editor of our fine publication. Matthew, what do you have for us this week?
Well, as you know, Mike, legacy media are shrinking, with traditional players fast consolidating to hang on to those margins, while new media venues fill that huge void. I tend to get a frontal lobotomy trying to keep up with the number of channels proliferating at a daily clip, as I'm sure you do.
You're not alone, my friend.
And that trend is, of course, juxtaposed with fluid changes in how and where people are consuming news and information, or content, as we call it. What does this all mean for marketers? A&A Magazine takes a deep dive and provides some key insights for brand managers, both navigating and borrowing from new media venues.
Very interesting. That seems like a lot of things heading in a lot of different directions at once. What do these changes look like when it comes to reach?
Well, about 20% of Americans and a much higher percentage of Gen Zers say they regularly get their news from influencers on social media. That's according to Pew. So-called news influencers are most likely to be found on X, where about 85% of them reside, but they're also on Instagram and YouTube in decent numbers. So it's basically as you referred to earlier, it's a sea change in the landscape.
Okay, so yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, like a foundational kind of seismic shift there. But how does that affect engagement? Because people certainly don't absorb content and messaging the way they did when it was delivered by the big three networks, that spray and pray, one-to-many type situation. It's an atomized world right now. What does that look like in terms of engagement?
Yeah, it's a matter of much greater and in some sense unprecedented expectations by consumers. As influencers take up more and more bandwidth and mind share, their styles are seeping into brand behavior, with companies functioning as both media outlets and entertainment providers, distributing original content on a regular basis across relevant channels, just like influencers.
That's frankly a little exhausting. You just got me tired, and it's pretty early in the afternoon. So we've heard this a million times that the medium is the message, and with
Hail to Mr. McLuhan.
Yes, indeed, the OG. But with all these changes in media, I imagine this has had a very real effect on the types of content brands are creating. Does this story delve into that trend as well?
It certainly does, Mike. And as news content and the channels they're delivered on evolve, so too will ad creative, as the story points out. Now, some advertisers are going to continue to play it straight down the line, of course. But on the other hand, you have a growing number of brand advertisers who might fall into the category of, quote, unhinged marketing.
Oh, my.
Or weird advertising. Examples are proliferating at a rapid clip. You've got language learning app Duolingo recently killing off its beloved mascot, the Duolingo owl, in rather brutal fashion, I might add, only to bring back the spokes character back to life a few days later. Or the singer, you'll love this one.
Please,
as a musician.
hit me.
The singer Seal recreated as well a seal
Oh my God.
for a recent Mountain Dew spot.
Dude,
And that's where we're headed, man.
it's crazy. I legitimately, it took me like 72 hours. I think the Duolingo owl was resurrected by the time
Yeah.
I believed that
Yeah.
that had actually happened. But that's, I mean, talk about bold and talk about like shaking what my perceptions are.
And talk about, several consecutive news cycles, as it
Yeah.
were.
Absolutely.
Okay, there you go.
So we've got changes in media, we've got changes in content. I have to imagine it's not going to stop there. Surely this is going to affect targeting, distribution, and measurement too, right?
You got it, Mike. This trend is going to seep into most every facet of marketing. As CMOs and marketers adapt to these new media models and work more closely with influencers online, they're prioritizing the audience over specific channels, whereas advertising has been channel-based for decades. Another sea change.
Yep. I feel like every 18 months I can say this, but it feels like we are entering a brave new world of marketing yet again.
You bet, man.
Well, good news for our marketers. A&A Magazine is on top of it every step of the way. And to see how all of this fits with ad strategy moving forward, you can check out the story on new media in A&A Magazine. You can find this article and more, as well as the weekly A&A Magazine quiz, by visiting ana.net/publications.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Matthew. Good stuff, as always, from our friend Matthew Schwartz at A&A Magazine. That unhinged marketing, I thought it was so cool, especially the Duolingo. They just seem to have, they've had that locked down.
Yes.
And here's a little behind-the-scenes information that our listeners might not know. Our dear producer, Ryan Dinger, is a Duolingo megastar. What is your streak up to now?
It's up to 2,395 days in a row as of today.
In a row.
Yeah.
That
I
is
started back in
wild.
2018. I haven't learned a thing. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yes, Duolingo, I have not been a victim of the unhinged marketing because I am a loyal user. But we've done a lot of case studies on stuff that they've done, individual campaigns. And one that stood out to me as we were going through that segment, they did, I believe it was in Brazil a few years ago, where they were able to track down users who had lapsed on their streaks and get in touch with their friends and families and sort of determine where these people were living. I may be getting some of these details wrong, but this is the basic idea.
Right.
Where these people were living and actually show up at their residences and project the Duolingo owl on a building, like outside of their window, like telling them like, it's time to do your lesson. Like, why are you ignoring Duo? To me, like that's stalker level.
That
marketing.
is
When you talk about
hilarious.
unhinged marketing,
Yeah.
this is what we're talking about, right? We're
Yes.
finding out where you live and we're coming to you and being like, why aren't you doing your lessons anymore?
Yeah.
It actually won a couple A&A awards.
That is incredible. And you know what? A great lesson. If you're going to do unhinged marketing, go all the way.
Yes.
Wile E. Coyote off the cliff and
Yeah.
not even realizing it all the way. Don't halfway absurdity.
100%. How about you, Mike? Is there any examples of unhinged marketing that come to mind for you that you particularly liked?
There's really one on the top of my Mount Olympus of unhinged marketing, activations, ads, campaigns, whatever. And I'm going to be dating myself right now, but it's cool because I'm a great conversationalist. But seriously, God, it has to be 10, 11, maybe longer years ago. We all know the iconic Skittles campaign, Blank the Rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
There was one ad where a gentleman, everything he touched turned to Skittles.
Yes, I remember this ad very well.
And it could have been a really just, a sight gag. It was a funny sight gag. But it turned into this incredibly existentially like deep and kind of dark situation.
Yeah. If I recall correctly, he's like working in an office and fellow employees come up to him and they're like, look at this amazing trick he can do. And he gets into like, oh yeah, you think it's a trick, but it's actually a curse. And he starts like going through the examples. And one that he brings up is, I met a man on the bus today. I went to shake his hand. And now he'll never see his wife and kids again. Where it's just like,
did you feed and dress yourself this morning? I didn't.
And the way that it ends, where like his phone rings on his desk, and he's the employees who his coworkers who he's talking to, he says, "Excuse me for a second," and goes to touch the phone. It turns to Skittles, and in a fit of frustration, he bangs his hands down the desk. The desk becomes Skittles and just collapses in front of him.
Oh my god!
I mean, the fact that we're still talking about that ad, that was at least 10 years ago.
Yes.
And I mean, if you can do that and have people talking about your stuff 10 years later, you're winning. Like, that's brand recognition, no matter how you want to spin it.
Absolutely. And speaking of brand recognition and things that have been working for a very long time, Ryan, what would you do if you had the choice between 100 years of brand equity and the chance to start from scratch?
That feels like a lot of pressure. I'm not sure what I know the answer is.
Well, our guest today has the answer.
Thank God.
Yeah, wouldn't do that to you if I didn't have a happy ending on the end of this. She is the head of digital, client experience, and marketing for Truist Bank. She has more than 20 years of experience in the financial sector, working for PHH, MetLife, and Bank of America, just to name a few. She says her personal purpose is to courageously listen to learn, live authentically in the moment, and pay it forward. Most importantly, she's a proud mom. Today, she's going to tell us how she built a brand from scratch. Here's my conversation with Sherry Graziano. Alrighty, I am almost too excited, but I don't know if that's possible. We are here, A&A Studios. I have the one and only Sherry Graziano, the head of digital, client experience, and marketing at Truist, here in the pod. Sherry, thank you so much for coming by.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here with you, Mike.
Likewise, and this is a conversation I just absolutely love because it's such a singular story in the business world. We are talking about the creation of Truist, a brand that, kind of sprang from the void and gave, I'm sure, some challenges, but an incredibly unique opportunity. And I would like to start from the very beginning, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, let's go back in time.
Yes. The year is 2019, and leadership at Truist landed on the bold decision, I'd say, I don't think that that's a controversial qualifier to this, to do away with more than 100 years of brand equity from the two previous brands that were merging to create a brand new Truist entity. How did they land on this decision?
Yeah, it's a great question. So you go back in time, and it's actually quite powerful to reflect. If you think about the really deep and rich history of both organizations, and then the timing of bringing those teams together, there was an opportunity, and our leadership acknowledged that clearly. And so this opportunity presented itself to bring two very rich histories together, but really align upon one vision and one new brand. It's a digital era, a new age for financial services. And so we had an opportunity to have white space and really define a new brand. So bringing together two incredible teams, both have a lot of wonderful history behind them, but really kind of paused for a minute and said, hey, let's imagine one unified purpose and let purpose be our driver. And so that was sort of where it all started. And then we had this white space to imagine who did we want to be and all the fun that comes with deciding the new brand name, the colors, the logo, all of our messaging, all those fun and exciting things.
Yeah, and I can see it now that like it is, like I say, bold decision, but the opportunity there to really say what is everything we want to be on every level, that is kind of too good to pass up. So let's just start from what is one advantage that you found from creating a brand from scratch and one disadvantage?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with the disadvantage because everyone always says, well, tell us what it's really like.
Yeah.
Point blank, look, it's hard work, right? It's a lot, to your point. But when you get into the advantages, this is opportunity. It's white space, and really being able to co-create alongside your teammates. I think that's a really important piece of the equation. So we had folks who were very proud of the brands where we came from, and now you're bringing them together and really under one unified purpose. Our purpose is all about inspiring and building better lives and communities. In financial services, it's quite remarkable. We have a noble responsibility, and it's quite rewarding. And so when you think about really having one unified purpose, that's where we started. And then we said, okay, let's bring the teams along to co-create because, from a brand affinity perspective, your teammates are the face of your organization. Your teammates are the brand. They bring the brand experiences to life. And so co-creating on that journey, to me, was magical. If you see, what we went through, we had naming contests. We allowed teammates to opine when it came time to consider all different parts and pieces. They were along that journey with us every step of the way. And so there's power of ownership.
Yep.
Right? And when you think about, and that when you think about ownership, how powerful that is, if I'm a teammate and I see myself and what I'm doing each and every day, I am the brand and I am the manifestation of those experiences coming to life. So it was really, really powerful. Again, a lot of hard work, but the advantages far outweigh, I believe, the disadvantages.
That's so awesome. And you touched on this, and I think you said it perfectly. And it's great because the last couple of weeks here at On Scope, this has come up more than once, is that a brand is everything you do. It's every touch point you have, everything. Yeah. You are on the hook for all of it, and you can leverage all of it. And we've talked in recent weeks about the power of purpose and true purpose, the thing that aligns everything that you do. So how did you manage to imbue the Truist brand and purpose through every touch point while you were launching messaging and beyond?
Yeah. And it's, you nailed it, right? It's so much more than just creative and messaging. And so I would start by saying, really embedding it and threading it through everything you're doing. And that's critical when you think about the new brand. And so it's everything from spending time with your human resources partners to help them understand as we're thinking about talent that would be joining the organization. We're purpose driven. This is the brand. This is what we stand for. And we want like-minded folks to come into the organization to build a really powerful culture that is truly purpose-driven. But then you get into the fun and exciting pieces for a lot of marketers as well. So things like landing on a logo and having really tough conversations and effectively challenging each other on the design and why. Things like the color, right? So colors are really important, right? They define us. And so we spent a lot of time doing research as well, looking at other financial institutions as well as other entities, and kind of looked at the different sets and said, this is interesting. This is white space for us as well, and landed on a color that blended one of each of our heritage colors together.
Oh, that's cool.
And so there's this opportunity that purple is powerful for our teammates. They see themselves in it. And as far as wanting the merch and the branding of themselves all day, every day. So that's very exciting. But you get into the things that you mentioned, like even your physical space. So we have our Truist Leadership Institute. We have our Truist Innovation Center. Our Innovation and Technology Center is truly a manifestation of our brand. And so we spent a lot of time talking about the power of technology coupled with human touch to deliver on trust for our clients. And technology, we built all new digital experiences as well. And so to your point, all of these collection of touch points are a manifestation of the brand. And so you really have this pause button, this opportunity when you're out and you're creating what the new brand will be. All the different components, whether it be your logo, your messaging, your creative content, to the point you made, your digital experiences, your physical experiences, it's bringing all of that together and really making sure that we're consistent in brand tone, brand voice, and how we approached it and really threaded that through across all of our teammates, bottom to top, top to bottom.
Yeah, and that's incredible. And I think that it's so essential for every marketer. But there is something just refreshing and freeing that you're not like untangling something that was there before and trying to retrofit and build in something new at the same time. We can go, no. What is the ideal on this digital platform to represent who we are as a business that then translates into the retail space?
You know, and you think about it too. Again, I mentioned the timing for us was an opportunity in financial services that becomes a digital era. And so that's unique and different. And to your point, doing a lot of research, discovery, and really saying, who do we want to be and who do we not want to be?
Yeah.
That's important on this journey as well.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Right? And so
Yes.
once you land on that, it becomes a little bit easier to then have those conversations around your solution set, your experiences you'll be delivering, how you'll show up. And so I do think that's a really important piece of that equation, is really knowing who you want to be, who you don't want to be, and what you'll stand for.
I love that. And can we take it one step further to how all of this manifests in the like IRL experience of Truist Bank? Like,
Yeah.
what is that? How does that? What's the importance of that? How does that fit into the function?
Yeah. So just the relationship life cycle as a whole, as I think about our messaging as well, it's all about being leaders in banking, unwavering in care. And so you bring that together, and that's the power of what's possible. And through our research, our data, our insights, we heard that from our clients across the organization, that they truly depend upon us to deliver deep knowledge, deep expertise. And there's an expectation that you differentiate with care. And so our teammates, whether that be relationship managers, whether that be in the branch, our care centers, really threading through in our different trainings, our onboarding, how in which we ensure that we're integrating folks into the brand messaging as a part of their DNA. And by the way, when you connect that back to purpose, and purpose is at the center of all we do, it becomes very clear that our brand is coming to life by way of all of these different touch points, whether those be physical or in the digital channels.
Yeah, and I love that. It is such a North Star, and I think just gives you confidence and the ability to kind of play a little bit more, because you know where you always kind of come back to and center yourself with. Super, super cool. Listeners, stick around, because when we come back, we're going to see what happens when brand launch meets global pandemic. You are not going to want to miss this. Stick around. Ryan, I have a favor to ask.
Okay.
What's your tool collection look like?
I'm not very handy. I've got some tools. I've got a power drill, which is nice. I've got a hammer.
All right, that's probably good.
I got a screwdriver set.
Okay, I would like to take all of them kind of indefinitely.
Indefinitely?
Well, here's the thing, Ryan. I'm trying to build a brand.
Okay.
And I don't know how long that's going to take. So I don't want to say I'm going to take them for 2 weeks, and then like 3 years later, you're like, kind of need that hammer. And I'm like, so close to being done building this brand.
I'm worried about a little Ned Flanders, Homer Simpson situation going on here.
I'm not going to ask which one of us is which.
I think you know the answer there.
Yeah, well, if you're not going to give me the tools to build a brand.
Yeah, I don't know if I can. I mean, I do love you. But...
Okay, it's fine. Then I guess I'm just going to have to turn to the great folks at the A&A and look into their brand building certificate program, which is actually on demand and self-paced. So, probably better there than
no timeline needed.
Saw and hammer and all of that good stuff. But this on-demand self-paced training is led by real-world experts and gives you, the marketer, the frameworks to build brand equity, sharpen your story, and create consistency across the consumer journey.
Sounds like the perfect thing for you right now, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what the best part of this is?
What's that?
If you're an A&A member, this memben is yours for $3.99.
Wow.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
It's just all there for you. Couldn't ask for more. So get to building your brand with the A&A Brand Building Certificate Program. You can find out more at ana.net/brand certificate. Now, back to our show.
You can borrow the tools if you need them.
I appreciate it. My sink's been leaking for like a year. And we are back. We are rocking and rolling here. My guest, Sherry Graziano, head of digital client experience and marketing at Truist. So as I said before, we took a little break. About 90 days after the planned formation of Truist was announced, COVID essentially dropped the world on its head. how did that affect the process of forming this new brand?
Yeah. It was such an inflection point for us, right? So you go back to what we talked about earlier with being a purpose-led company. And what I witnessed was this moment, an inflection point where all of our teammates came together and said, we're here for one purpose. And it is about inspiring and building better lives and communities. And we are going to do this as one team, truly bringing that to life. Was it challenging? Navigating through that pandemic? Absolutely, right? But as you look at it now, even, and look back at that moment in time, the culture truly came to life.
Yeah.
It was all about winning as one team, Team Truist, put your purple jersey on, right? It was all the things that we talked about earlier. And what was interesting is the team had actually planned for the grand unveiling at our opening ceremonies of Truist Park, the Atlanta Braves.
Mm-hmm.
And later, there wasn't a season at all, right? And so you think about what was initially planned and what the teams had been marching towards in terms of this big unveiling, which is always very exciting for all your experienced teams and your brand teams. And instead, we went and pivoted to different agile ways. And we still brought the brand to life, right? The teams worked for 27 months on bringing that brand to life across all of our different physical spaces. So our branches, our ATMs, all of our creative content, how you think about our digital experiences. And we didn't stop. But what was one thing that was evident about that moment is it was an inflection point.
Yeah.
And everyone was in it to win it as one team, truly anchored in purpose. And at that moment, I do believe that's when our culture and our brand truly came to life.
I love that. Before this show, I hosted another podcast for the ANA, and it was running through 2020 and 2021. Mm-hmm. And I remember a recurring theme of obviously everybody's plans got flushed down the toilet and your 3-year plan got pulled through a 2-week window. But there were some moments of absolute incredible humanity, like the power of people. Mm-hmm. And it's just so cool. And just another thing that we're talking about, the importance of purpose, the importance of brand. The jersey on the back matters to employees as much as customers. Mm-hmm. That's real. You can't just put anything on that and expect people to run through a wall. So brand has value beyond what we typically talk about. Mm-hmm. And I think as an employer motivation, I think it's just second to none. Yeah. Super, super cool. So another thing that I was kind of a recurring thing back in the day is that, art is limitations. So sometimes you get put in this constraining situation and an idea or an approach or a strategy that just never would have come to light. It just comes to fruition. Were there any pleasant surprises during the pandemic for the Truist brand?
Yeah, I think, it's interesting when you think about the moment in time where we were. Again, I go back to Team Truist and the jersey. Everyone sort of anchored and rallied around. We're here for our clients, a client-centric point of view. We also have a design team, a research and insights team, and we were able to unlock and leverage a lot of those insights during a fairly uncertain moment that helped us also shape how we thought about our messaging, showing up with a level of care in a moment when people had a lot of fear of what was happening. And there were a lot of unknowns. And so taking that really deep research and insights, again, all fresh and relatively new because we were still rolling out a new brand, right? Deploying a new brand. We were really able to shape something new in a very unique and different way. I'll give you another example, being on calls together. I remember explicitly being on a call thinking about a new solution we were asked to deliver to the marketplace. So a product we were asked to deliver to the marketplace to help some of our small businesses with very limited information that had been put in our hands. And I remember being on that call, and I remember teammates joining the call, and they said, I'm John and I'm from this group. How can I help? I'm Sarah. I'm from this group. How can I help? And so this is that manifestation of the culture coming to life we talked about that was really deeply anchored in purpose and putting our clients at the center. It was all about care for your clients in this moment of unknown. We know there's one thing that's true, and that is if we care for our clients, our teammates, by the way, are going to feel a sense of purpose, and ultimately it will deliver as well for our stakeholders in terms of business outcomes. And so those are those tangible examples that we saw come to life that were probably rather unexpected, but it was truly the manifestation of our purpose and really the brand experiences coming to life.
Love that. And frankly, one of your first challenges to be of that magnitude kind of makes a lot of the other problems like Yeah, we could figure that out.
We can figure it out. We can figure out logos. We can figure out typeface and fonts, right? That's exactly right. This was a total unknown that sort of came in, to your point, 90 days into bringing these teams together and really starting to co-create on the art of what's possible. And so I look at it now and I say 5 years later, you look back on it and you say, that's a career-defining moment.
Yep.
That was a great opportunity for all of our teams to be able to lean in together and really rally behind the teammates who ultimately serve our clients from a client-centric point of view.
Well, to you and the entire Truist team, kudos to rising to the moment.
Yeah.
So let's kind of keep going on that. I'd like to talk about purpose, team, and culture. There were without a doubt a lot of moving parts with two companies coming together, launching new brands simultaneously, a lot of stuff on the back end and the front end, all kind of needing to be orchestrated. How did you manage the human side of the equation to ensure the organization was successful in the long run?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go back to data and insights are really powerful. And really making sure that you spend a good amount of time researching and understanding what matters most to your clients from a client-centric point of view. How do you ensure that you also equip your teammates to support your clients on that journey?
Yep.
How do you ensure you build the capabilities, maybe in the self-service space? So a lot of clients like to transact in self-service channels, and we need to make sure that our brand is consistently showing up and we're delivering those capabilities to allow our clients to interact when and how they want to, desire to engage with us. If you think about that, you need to thread all those pieces together. And a heavy, heavy focus on how do we ensure that the brand messaging and how we think about delivering is really inextricably linked into our enablement.
Yes.
Whether that be with your teammates that are client facing or candidly even in shared services roles. Does everyone have a client-centric point of view? When we run into a conversation, we're talking about maybe a new solution set. How are we thinking about the naming mechanism of it? Yes, that does matter. How do we think about the value prop? But ultimately, what does it mean to the client?
Yep.
And, we do run our journey practices. We spend a lot of time going really deep in data and insights to say, what are the jobs that are to be done for clients? Let's make sure that as we're on this journey and path and we're designing experiences, it's truly going to meet your client's needs versus just designing based on what you anticipate and think someone might need, right? Ultimately, for us, it's about this collection of all of these touch points. That's a manifestation of our brand. So we better be sure, again, going back to, do you know who you want to be?
Yeah.
And do you know who you don't want to be? That research, those deep insights are really, really powerful around your clients.
I absolutely love it. And yeah, one tenet I hold very deeply is innovation begins with a problem to be solved. You don't make something and go like, what can we use this for? What
That's
can
right.
we use this
Nope,
for? You
that's
wasted
right.
your entire time.
Yeah.
So as you said at the top of this wonderful episode, by the way, that this is kind of an opportunity to look back, a little bit of a retrospective. But now that we are 5 years into this brave new world, how has the brand evolved in its nascent state?
Yeah, we're having a lot of fun. I mean, I'm sure you can tell
I
already.
can tell.
We're having a lot of fun, and again, a lot of hard work. But it's this art of really reimagining and the art of the possible. And we spend a lot of time talking about how might we. A couple things I'll just share. I'm really proud of. In 5 years, our brand awareness is off the charts. We're at 83% brand awareness.
Jeez.
We're at the top 5 for brand consideration for a brand new brand.
Yeah.
And we're competing with, centuries old brands in the
about to
marketplace
say,
and financial services. So we're really, really proud of the work that we've done. But it is an evolution. And so our newest campaign, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, Unstoppable Together, we have an incredible team that worked really, really hard on really elevating and sort of leveling up how we think about our messaging. Again, a lot of deep research and insights, data that helped us shape and inform how we think about the power of possibility for clients. And at the core of that, what we know is true is our clients are looking for us to truly deliver that deep knowledge, that deep expertise with a level of care that is unmatched. And together those pieces and parts allow us to truly be distinctive in our experiences and unlock the power of what's possible. And that is our Unstoppable Together campaign. So the creative matches all of that, and that's elevating. We're seeing tremendous results in terms of impressions and awareness and consideration. And one thing I would also say is on this evolution, we are absolutely also looking at our performance outcomes. So in our organization, we have the responsibility of also driving production. And so we're supporting the enterprise and messaging, but also driving new account opening in the digital channels, deepening within our mobile and online banking channels. And so we can see those results now and that flywheel really turning. And there's incredible opportunity as we continue. We're really excited.
I love that. And quite frankly, the foundation that you built with the purpose kind of being imbued through everything that everybody experiences about the company, that allows you a lot of leverage, and being bold with your messaging and the things that you say, you've earned it. There could be a lot of potential like imposter syndrome to just throw that on underneath your logo. So it's very cool to hear the entire story of how you got to a place where you really have earned the ability to say we together are unstoppable. Yeah. Very, very cool. Yeah. Before I leave you into this beautiful day, what is one tip that you could give your fellow marketers who have some form of this opportunity? They're either taking a brand down to the studs and really trying to rebuild it, or they've got this kind of unicorn opportunity of, we've got a company, we need a brand.
Yeah. Gosh, only one is hard, but if I had to have just one, it would be, don't be afraid. Mm-hmm. Be bold. It is a new day. And if you really use your data and insights, and you know who you want to be, where you want to play, where you want to win, it's a really exciting opportunity. But let data be your friend, and be absolutely confident in how you're thinking about your client-centric experiences.
Love that. Yeah, that's if you have an opportunity like that, goodness gracious, why would you ever play it safe?
Yeah. It's a great opportunity.
Sherry, speaking of great opportunities, this was a fantastic opportunity for you to share your insights with the world. I love this story so, so much. Thank you so much for being a guest.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And look, we're really, really proud, as you can tell, and I appreciate being here with you today.
Likewise. Like all good things, this episode of On Scope, the marketing podcast, must come to an end. I gotta tell you, I am having so much fun on this show, and today that is all thanks to my guest, Sherry Graziano. What an amazing story, what a golden opportunity for marketers, and what incredible lessons to be passed on to all of you, no matter where you are in your journey. As a reminder, if you have a topic or guest that you'd like to see on Scope, shoot us a note. We'd love to hear from you. onscope@ana.net. And finally, your moment of marketing meditation. Take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and consider the following from French author André Gide. Man cannot discover new oceans unless he has the courage to lose sight of the shore. Think on that, and I'll see you next week.